Tommy Tainsh, brewmaster, Trinity Brewhouse, Providence, Rhode Island. We have it's kind of a cult following. It's a Belgian strawberry beer that's pretty much 13.5% alcohol. It tastes like Capri Sun, and it's ridiculous.
Hey all, Amanda here. Welcome to episode 82 of Great Beer Adventure. On this episode, we stop in a Trinity Brew in Rhode Island. This is a very special episode to me because it was taped during a visit with a great friend. It was during this visit that I helped turn my friend into a beer drinker. Isn't it the best when you can share the good word of craft beer? Before we jump into the show, I want to remind you all to text GBA to 31996 for more information on our free coloring page. It's a fun collab I did with last week's guest, Heidi Geist. Again, that is GBA to 31996. Now let's jump right into finding out the origin story of Trinity.
The brewery started in 1994. December it opened. Josh Miller opened it back in the day when there weren't any brew pubs anywhere in Rhode Island. There was one down the street that was opened up, which was Union Station, not shortly after there. But back then, it wasn't, the craft beer hasn't yet blown up, People were confused by the craft beer when they come in here and they order a Bud. But luckily, times have changed and people have gotten educated and they prefer more quality beers.
Trinity is finding that folks are ready for craft beers, but what is the feeling that they want you to have when you walk in?
Trinity is more of a working class type place. We've always kept our beers. Basically, the people that come in here decide what we brew. They're the voice of what we brew, and apparently their voice screams for high ABVs because we brew a lot of high ABV beers, except in the summer. But it's comfortable. It's relaxing. It's there's people anywhere from 90 years old sitting at the bar to a 21-year-old hippie sitting at the bar talking to each other. So it's a good variety of people. We always try to keep the prices reasonable for the working class, and there's a lot of breweries where you go and you get a 10% alcohol beer for $8 and you get a 8-ounce pour. We give our Mug Club members a 25-ounce pour for $6, but that's a whole different, But we also give pints for $6, so I don't know. It just seems like we're not out to choke people out. We just want people to enjoy our beer.
Are you wondering if you can get your hands on some Trinity Brew?
The distribution's very small. It's basically just something that our owner wanted to have. It's bottled in Cottrell Brewing Company in Pawcatuck, Connecticut. They've been bottling our beer for 12 years now. 13 years, and it's just basically the India Pale Ale, the IPA that we served here for 22 years. As far as expanding to do other bottles, I don't see it in the near future that happening because he just concentrates on this place. We produce probably 1,300 barrels out of here. For a brew pub, it's pretty good numbers. We brew about 1,500 gallons a week here, so he concentrates on the brew pub.
Let's find out a bit more about a couple of their beers.
We have it's kind of a cult following. It's a Belgian strawberry beer that's pretty much 13.5% alcohol. It tastes like Capri Sun, and it's ridiculous. You cannot taste the burn, the alcohol at all. There's no nose, there's no bouquet to it. It's amazing. It's got 350 pounds of strawberries in it. And it's a Belgian-style beer. And people go mental over this beer. We started brewing it, about 12 years ago when the hop crisis came and the hops factory burned down in Washington, and it was a bad crop year, and hops were virtually impossible to get. They went from $7 a pound to $50 a pound. So we were just goofing around one day, and we're like, why don't we just throw a bunch of strawberries into a beer? And that's where it came up. And we only produce it one batch a year, and people turn into The Walking Dead. We had to, when it comes out, they drank it in 5 days, this batch, this year, and we sell them by the 12-ounce. We used to sell them by pints and mugs. The first time we produced it, we didn't know how much the sugar would react with the alcohol and people, and we just let people get as many as they would like, and people were tearing this place apart. The bathrooms were being smashed. The outside was decorated with strawberry spray, and it was disgusting. So we had to stop the madness. So we had it to 2 pints or 1 mug. And then this year we put it on. It was a little bit higher in ABV, and we had to knock it down to 12-ounce portions because it's ridiculous what it does to people. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the beer. I mean, we add it tastes good, but it's not my cup of tea. It's instead of dry hops, we add some local herbs from the farmers that we deal with over here. There's lemon, basil, pineapple sage, and chocolate mint. So it takes away from the sweetness of it, and kind of, instead of the hops, it'll basically give a herbal type flavor to it. Nothing intense, but so yeah, that's one of them. I usually put that on tap, and I go on vacation for the week because I don't want to be a part of the madness. And people are like, why don't you brew more often? It's like, because I worry about you people. I don't want you drinking this stuff and thinking it tastes like Capri Sun, so you drink it like that, and then the next thing you know, you're falling in the middle of the road getting hit by a riptobus. I don't need to think about that. So that's one of the beers. Another beer that we brew here that a lot of people like is the Red Rum. It's an imperial red ale. It's 100 IBUs. We've been brewing it for a while now. You know, we have some New Zealand hops in there, and I know New Zealand hops are like primary hops these days, but back when we were getting them, it was just some kind of trial thing, like, oh, try these out. And we tried them, we're like, wow, these are amazing. A lot of fruit. So the beer has a lot of malt characteristics, some caramel malts and crystal malts, and but it also has a nice fruitiness to it and a very hop bite, forefront and the finish. So it's a good balance. You have the maltiness and you have the hoppiness. So to me, it's like the perfect beer because I love hops and I love malt. And it's the only way for me to appreciate both at the same time. But it's called the Red Rum because it was brewed on a very angry day, and a lot of things going wrong in the brewery. We ended up calling it Red Rum for that reason. But it's a good beer. And we produce it year-round. When we don't have it on tap, everybody asks for it.
I need to tell you about that strawberry beer. My mom, a new beer drinker, could taste the alcohol, but I drank a decent amount of it. It was tasty and strong. My mom and I had a lot of laughs that night. Memories. Speaking of memories, you all know what time it is, right? First beer memory time.
Oh, to be perfectly honest with you, I was never a beer drinker. I absolutely hated beer. When I was in high school, when I was illegally drinking when I was a kid, I absolutely hated it because you go to a party and they'd have Keystone and disgusting beer that was just outrageously, I couldn't handle it. So I stuck with vodka. And then when Sierra Nevada came out with the pale ale, things changed, and I was like, oh, this is different. This is what I like. So I would say that Sierra Nevada and Oregon Nut Brown Ale were the two beers that pretty much pulled me into quality beer, or beer in general at that point, because I absolutely despised beer back in the day. And then, of course, obviously, things have changed. I've been brewing for 19 years now, and I absolutely love it. But there's a reason why I didn't like beer, because it was awful stuff that people were drinking. You know what I mean? Like stuff that I don't need to put any beer down. I just was not a fan of it myself. So I would have to say definitely Sierra Nevada and the Oregon Nut Brown. I actually used when I would go with my buddy, or we would go out to a local bridge and catch crabs, and we bring a saute pan, and we put Oregon Nut Brown and crabs and the soft shell crabs in there and eat them up and drink a beer on the bridge. So those are definitely the two beers that that got me into it.
A huge thank you to Tommy for chatting with me today and for sharing some of that tasty strawberry fabulousness. Also, a huge thank you to my pal Margie for exploring breweries and bars in Rhode Island with me. Have you ever wanted to be a beer blogger? Now is your chance. I'm looking at highlighting your writing on the Great Beer Adventure website. I'm looking for posts that tell me the top 3 can't-miss breweries, bars, bottle shops, etc. from around the world. If you want to add your favorite city, town, or borough to the mix, send me an email at hi@greatbeeradventure.com. Also, don't forget to text GBA to 31996 for info on our free coloring page. If you all, our fabulous co-adventurers, would like to support the show, check out our Patreon page. For less than the cost of a beer, you can show us some love. Go to greatbeeradventure.com/support. If you want to see even more from our adventures, follow us on Instagram @GreatBeerAdventure. And be sure to subscribe to the show. That way, you won't miss a thing. Great Beer Adventure is part of the Great Pint Society. Cheers.